Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to enhance your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore, the Director of Bioscience Entrepreneurial Inclusion for BioSTL. Hey, Christy.
Hello. We are really just so excited to be continuing to do this podcast and having great, amazing guests on for our listeners. Mm-hmm. And our listenership is growing. So we want to make sure that we help you have a greater impact in your world and that you can help us have a greater impact in ours.
Yes.
So we want to thank our founding sponsors, BioSTL and CET, for the renewed support.
Shout out.
Yes. And remind you to check out their websites, our website, and find out, make sure you know what's going on. We're in the midst of the Square One Ignite program again. We're our first of 2 rounds for this year. And so there's still opportunity for you to submit an application for the April activities that we have on deck. And you have a whole lineup. You've got evening withs.
Absolutely. We've got monthly things. So go on our website, take a look at what's going on. That's at biostl.org under the Who We Are in the Inclusion tab.
Awesome.
You'll find information there.
Yeah, well, we want to make sure that everybody knows the great work that's going on from our sponsors, and also make sure that you know you have the opportunity to join them in sponsoring the show. So please let us know if you're interested in that, and help us share this with your friends. So you can find us on iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you find your favorite podcast. You can subscribe to Entrepreneurially Thinking.
And you guys can give us feedback. If you have topic ideas for shows, send it to us.
We love that. So we've got another great lineup today, don't we, Cheryl?
Yes, absolutely. So, according to the Census Bureau's survey of business owners, 36% of all businesses are women-owned. And they account for 12% of all sales and 15% of employment.
And, it sounds like a lot, but it's not.
It's not, exactly.
So we've got some work to do.
Yes. So despite their growth over the past 2 decades, female entrepreneurs still face more challenges than men. Really? Okay, really?
Well, so long as the evidence corroborates, right?
In stark contrast, we discovered that only 1 in 5 firms with revenues of $1 million or more are women-owned.
And that $1 million mark is it's the ceiling right now.
It's a bar. It is a high bar. And only 4.2% of all women-owned firms generate revenues of $1 million or more. 4%, guys.
Well,
small.
We have a guest today who can help us move the dial on that.
So when we come back, we're going to be speaking with a woman who guides lady bosses to overcome the obstacles that prohibit their organizations from reaching the next level. She is a positive force to be reckoned with, and she means business.
No kidding.
So, as we always say, stay listening.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast, and we want you to know all about the great things they are up to. BioSTL fosters collaborative efforts to advance innovation and entrepreneurship that builds on St. Louis's world-class medical and plant biosciences. Their global STL initiative aims to build a direct link between St. Louis and other countries by recruiting high-growth international companies to establish a United States presence in St. Louis. You can learn more about BioSTL and the Global STL Initiative by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
This is Erin Joy, founder and CEO at Black Dress Partners. And entrepreneurially thinking means to me that I'm always bringing value to the marketplace. That I'm looking at the gaps in the market that I serve, and I'm looking at how I can fill those gaps. I'm creating something new. I'm creating value. I'm expanding myself. I'm expanding my market that I'm serving and helping them serve. And that is what entrepreneurially thinking means to me.
So joining us today is Erin Joy, founder of Black Dress Partners, a consulting and coaching organization that helps emerging and evolving women business owners strategize, prioritize, and execute organizational growth and effectiveness. After 15 years of selling and consulting in the real estate industry, she founded Black Dress Partners in 2011, and she's a third-generation female entrepreneur. So we have a lot to talk to her about in terms of understanding her own personal entrepreneurial journey, but also that those generations of women who led the way and have set the stage for her success. So, Erin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And so tell us, Black Dress Partners, I know I've just given this consulting, coaching organization, emerging and evolving women. What does that mean in practical terms?
So what it means in practical terms is I do two things with my clients. I sit in rooms unlike the one that we're in now, and I have one-on-one conversations with my clients about what's important to them, what's getting in their way, and what goals they want to accomplish. And those conversations are generally in the realm of their business. But we all know, the three of us in this room, we know that there's a major splash over into our personal lives, that this entrepreneurial journey really works at the intersection of business and psychology. So
definitely.
So I have those one-on-one conversations with clients in those two domains, and I also facilitate peer-to-peer roundtables where the business owners are learning not just from me, but learning from their peers.
That's great.
I love it. And the research shows that the larger the business becomes, the more that peer support is really vital and makes the kind of impact. Because it's one thing to sit across from an early stage startup.
Sure, I work with them all the time, right?
You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing?
Right.
We kind of don't know what we're doing together, But when we're sitting across the table and we've got women running $10 million, $5 million, $20 million companies, it's a very different conversation in terms of the wisdom that comes out of the group.
CEO roundtables have been around for a long time, but they've normally been dominated by men. So this is really interesting that you are doing this specifically for women, correct?
That's right. Black Dress Circle is our flagship offering, and
I love that, black dress.
Thank
that
you.
is very cool.
Thank you.
Every woman has a freaking black dress.
At least one.
It is your go-to staple piece that you can dress up, you can dress down.
Absolutely.
It is the foundation of your wardrobe. But the point about the roundtables historically been being dominated by men, that's true. And so that is why we created Black Dress Circle, so that women can sit around the table with other women talking business, talking about their lives, talking about some of the challenges that are unique to women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, Erin, okay, of course, I'm jumping in here.
That's fine. Go ahead. That's how it works.
The two
Whatever
bodies,
you don't
one
ask,
brain.
I will.
Right. So take a step back, because I'm always interested in people's backgrounds. You were in real estate. Is that the first business that you had? How did you transition from there into this? And was there something before that?
Well, it wasn't exactly the first business I had, if we want to be really technical. When I was a very early teen, I started teaching private swimming lessons.
Oh, awesome.
And I had that knack for groups back then. And I was like, I'm not going to do these individual lessons where I have one family pay me. I'm going to have six families pay me at once. So,
because you're all learning the backstroke at the same
time.
Right.
Exactly.
It's also risk mitigation, right?
That's right.
More people to rescue each other.
That's right.
I didn't think about that.
I'm immediately like, water, not good.
Yes. So I started, thinking about business at a very young age. My parents are entrepreneurs. I'm a third generation female entrepreneur. My mother was an entrepreneur. Her mother was an entrepreneur.
Wow. What businesses were they in?
Well, my grandmother owned a dress shop and a large restaurant at the same time. They were across the street from each other.
Oh, wow.
In a small town in central Illinois. Illinois, and she was caring for a disabled husband at the time, raising 2 kids, had both of her mothers from Germany living, her mother and her grandma.
Wow.
Excuse me, her mother and her mother-in-law living with her. So here she is with all of those family demands and running the restaurant and a dress shop.
And we
at
think
the same
we're the
time.
sandwich generation.
Yeah, exactly. So my mother went on to open a few businesses, and then my parents together opened and successfully ran and cashed out of an insurance agency and a real estate company. My journey, though, aside from those swimming lessons, I started selling real estate right out of college, kind of following in my dad's footsteps. And I've been essentially been self-employed for 22 years.
That's great.
So it's been a windy path.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like yours, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No doubt at all.
Exactly.
So when you're working with women and you're talking with them about the 2 things you touched on, what's getting in their way, and also the blur mix of personal and professional, because I personally don't believe that there's a work-life balance. I think it's always a blend, and something is probably always a little out of kilter because the blend is never perfect.
I say the same thing.
But what are you finding most women are sharing with you in these executive roles, in these business ownership roles, about what's getting in their way?
Yeah, so there's it's probably 3 things that I see most commonly. So the first is all of the challenges related to growing and developing and leading a team of people.
Yep.
The human resources component of small business ownership is challenging. I know anyone listening to our conversation right now is like, yeah, it is challenging. What do I do about that?
Yeah, it's one of the things I hear the most, even from young entrepreneurs. Like, if you had told me way back when that managing people was going to be this hard, I don't know if I would have started this company.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a lot of conversations. I do a lot of work in my Black Dress Circle roundtables, really developing business owners to have the tough conversations with their employees, to hire the right people.
That's where it
Slow
starts.
it on
Right.
down. It starts with hiring the right people.
And not your friends, and not
That's
your
right.
parents' friends.
That's right.
I think this might be a really good person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And really, how do we design a team where we have confidence in our team members, we can delegate to them and trust that the work is done, and if not, we have a feedback loop that tells us where we're off. How do we develop teams who put in discretionary effort and they go above and beyond, because that is what small businesses need. We really can't afford to pay for everything that we need, kind of, trading someone's hour for a direct dollar. We really need people who are going to go above and beyond what's in their job description.
I was going to say, especially in young, growing businesses, you don't have that opportunity to do that trade-off for every hour of work I'm paying. You don't have that.
That's right.
So
you want
dedication.
It's dedication. And how do you as a leader be someone that people want to give of themselves to? How do you have an employee who's actually interested in responding to that Saturday morning email that you sent out? You're not necessarily requiring it,
right?
But you are pleasantly surprised when you receive it.
Right. Right. So that actually, 2 things that have come up recently in my work with other folks. One is when folks hire for culture fit, which I think sometimes tends to lead us to a lack of diversity, because it implies that I both want to work with you and have drinks with you at the end of the day. And like we were just saying, hiring your friends isn't necessarily what we're looking to do here. But also this idea of self-managed teams. So when you encounter folks who have used sort of the culture fit approach to hiring, what do you advise them to do?
Well, I do advocate for hiring for a cultural fit. And for me, in my business, what that means is that I'm looking for people who are count-on-able.
Okay.
Like, that's my culture.
I love
is
that.
that I'm looking
Count on a ball.
I can count on you.
Right.
I can count on you to dot the I's and cross the T's. I can count on you to put our clients first. I can count on you to see the big picture. And so my business culture, and this is the same is true for clients that I would be working with in this domain, is knowing what the culture is and hiring to that fit. But my culture has nothing to do with being friends.
Right.
Not at my company.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I do not subscribe to the notion that our business is a family. You know, we are I have 2 other employees other than myself. I have several freelancers and contractors who have that psychological ownership and have that discretionary effort that they put in. But my 2 employees, you know, we're not a family. We are very friendly, but we don't socialize together. I have an employee who's worked for me for 13 years. I've never stepped foot inside her home.
Okay.
We don't go hang out.
Right.
Right.
But when we're working together, we have a great time
Right.
and we do good work.
It's called boundaries.
It's called boundaries. That's right. I was thinking of that earlier because I realized, Christy, I didn't answer your question in terms of what I see business owners challenged by. I said human resources.
Yes.
Anything related to leading the team.
I'm sorry, I got all excited about that.
Well,
I didn't
and
even
then-
let you go back.
And then the other thing I see a ton of struggle around is anything related to marketing.
Okay.
And with small companies being bamboozled by marketing firms who are selling them something that they don't need.
Right.
So I see a lot of challenges around marketing.
Okay.
And then around the psychology piece, the boundaries being one aspect of psychology.
Because I think with small companies, you know, a lot of times people do have that feeling of we're family, and forget that you're here because you're here to make money. Okay. Bottom line. Okay. So having hard conversations, if you treat people or act like family, it becomes it can be very detrimental because.
Well, and right, that's the point is how do I go out with you, you know, and we have a girls' weekend.
Right.
And then, you know,
I
the
need
next
to turn around and tell you, you know what, you're not count-onable.
right in this area. I just, you know, I don't know. I think that, you know, in my company, the work that we do together is so intense. You know, we're spread thin, we're a small business, but we're doing a ton of big work. And so like we need a break from each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I find that really, you know, I think where I've seen the culture fit crutch be there, where it is more about family and less about how can I count on you and what is our working relationship and sort of the terms, is when culture fit becomes code for I want to be your friend.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so if what really struck me when you started was defining what your culture is and being really clear on what's going to actually make your business work. And if feeling like you want to go out with somebody at the end of the day is not going to make your business work, then it shouldn't be part of your culture.
It's not part of your business plan strategy, right? Because your strategy should be, how am I going to grow my business? How are we going to get to the next level? I would think.
Yeah, and
you know, are those the conversations that with your coaching and things like that? Are you finding that you have to do more of those conversations?
I have those conversations all day, every day. I have those conversations in my own company with my advisors and with my own coaches who advise me and with my team members. And I have those conversations all day with my clients. You know, we're constantly looking at where are they now? Where do they want to go? How are they going to get there? And that is not a process that I recommend that people embark on alone. We really need outside advisors, fresh eyes, experts, people who are sounding boards and who will, you know, help us course correct a little bit.
Sure.
And so those are conversations I have all day, and it's, you know, it's an honor and a privilege to have those conversations.
Are you working with a certain revenue size company? I mean, do they have to be over like $1 million, 10 million or something like that?
Yeah, my clients really fall into 2 categories. One is they're not early stage startups, so they're a little more first stage.
Early stage couldn't pay you.
Early stage can't pay me. It's
They're
true.
post revenue.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Young but post revenue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my clients are, you know, they have revenue. You know, the lowest range would probably be around 6 figures of some kind of a professional services firm, all the way up to about 30 million annual revenue.
Okay.
And I organize those in 2 different groups. One is the group of women business owners and female entrepreneurs who are working to break that $1 million mark, which, you know, as we know, only 2% of all female entrepreneurs do. And then the group that's over $1 million, they have a whole different set of challenges. And typically I'm working with them on succession planning and how they're going to position their company for sale or for whatever their succession plan may look like.
Are you working with women in certain industries, or is it across the board?
I'm across all industries. I work in about 30 different industries right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Look, the best practices are the same.
They are.
Yes.
You know, right?
Yes.
So, and it's really about, you know, getting to know that client, that individual, that entrepreneur. What is important to her? What are her goals? And what are her strengths and her weaknesses? And we're going to apply that. We're going to create a plan from there and apply that across maybe her very specific challenge or goal related to starting a new division in her company or launching a new product or positioning the company for sale. But we start with that overarching, who are you? How are you kind of oriented? And how can we get the most out of you? The most productivity, the most self-expression, the most contribution?
I was going to say, so it's making that person, which I think a lot of people are not self-aware. It's having them become more self-aware and understanding, like you just said, you know, what works best for who you are and what you do. So having a psychology background, I think, is very interesting, especially as you're going through this type of work. What led you to getting I'm understanding you are pursuing a PhD
in business psychology. You know, I was at a seminar once after my human resources master's in at Washington University, and I was at a seminar where I first learned about business psychology, distinct from org psychology, distinct from leadership psychology.
Wow.
And I was like, it's like an MBA with psychology. That is my thing.
It's numbers and brains.
Exactly.
And ids and egos and all of that, right?
And left side, right?
And so what I find is that we're all, you know, all entrepreneurs are operating at the intersection of business and psychology, and that when we're tending to both sides, right and left brain, as an example, when we're taking care of business and we're taking care of ourselves, that's how we truly thrive.
You're at the intersection. We're going to take a break, and when we come back,
Talk about that intersection.
there you go.
Awesome.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One is CET's flagship program for entrepreneurs. It's a hands-on training program designed to provide support to first-time entrepreneurs in the St. Louis region actively engaged in the development of bioscience, information technology, or advanced manufacturing commercial enterprise. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit ETHINKSTL-S5-E10-BLACK. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
Erin, when you're at the intersection of business and psychology and taking care of business and taking care of yourself, how does the self-care piece work? Especially since we've sort of acknowledged that, you know, we kind of come from the blend versus balance philosophy. And you grew up, like me, in a family of entrepreneurs, so you knew what it was for everybody to work. It's hard. Those, you know, your employees may not be your family, but your family is your family. And when you're in business with your family, there's not much separation. So how does self-care manifest for the different kinds of women you work with?
Well, it's definitely different for every person.
Is it alcohol, yoga, or anything? Is that the self-care?
No.
We
want healthy.
Okay.
The yoga piece. Yes. You know, it really is different for every person. And I'm remembering a client who I started working with about a year ago, and she is in a family-owned business, and she's been working in the business since a very, very young age. And when we started talking about what would it look like for her to, practice self-care, to be good to herself, to take care of herself? And she literally didn't have any ideas or examples.
Because I think most women, we don't take care of ourselves. If you're an entrepreneur or not, we take care of other people.
Well, I am really committed to. I'm really committed to not that.
Right.
I am not. I don't do that.
But I'm saying a lot of women.
I agree.
Not you.
I agree. A lot of women. A lot of people. I don't think it's just a female conversation. A lot of people weren't necessarily raised in a household where emotional well-being is at the foundation of your performance in life and your success in life. And so, my client who I was thinking of a moment ago is really not unlike most people, where it wasn't modeled for them. And so I gave her examples from my own life. I gave her examples of things like, I've started taking a warm bath every night before I go to bed, and it helps my sleep. I'm hyper focused on my sleep, sleeping from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Because when I am well rested, I have more cognitive abilities throughout the day. I am up on time in order to do everything that I need to do before I walk out the door. I can bring my water with me. I can bring my food with me. I've been able to put on an outfit that I feel good about. I've been able to
get the shoes match.
The shoes match. I don't have on a navy shoe and a black shoe. And so, self-care is different for everyone. Today, one of the places where I practice a lot of self-care in addition to sleep is with my food. And I eat food now. I've had a lot of issues with food in the past, using food as a crutch, as a soothing,
as a proxy for self-care.
As a proxy for self-care. Great way to say it. And today, I'm here with you speaking today, and I've got a meeting that I'm going to next. I have my food in a cooler with me. I just asked, where is the refrigerator? I'm sorry, where's the microwave so I can heat it up before I leave? And there was a time when, I would have just driven through McDonald's. And I was stressed out, and then I'm rushed, and I have food that doesn't give me any energy.
Right.
And so, those are just a couple examples. But going back to boundaries, self-care within our business can look like delegating out the work that can be done by someone other than me.
Yes.
And that is a way that
I system so that I can do that.
That's right. And hiring the right people.
Right.
People who are performance driven, not my friends.
Right.
So that's how I am good to myself. And if we go back to that intersection between taking care of business, taking care of ourselves, when we've got people around us that we can delegate to, and then we can work on the business, not in the business.
Amen.
Right? That's how we're going to make the biggest contribution that we're here to make, is because we're not bogged down by responding to an email or making copies for an event or something.
But that's how you grow your team too. Because if you're not delegating, they're not getting the opportunity to learn as well. And I'm a big proponent of, when I worked in corporate, it was, I'm getting you ready for your next job. Because you shouldn't be here 5 to 10 years from now. If you are, I'm not doing my job.
Yes.
So I see that as a huge driver. If you're a good leader, you should be delegating. You should be growing people. You
should. I tell you, that's a conversation I have with my clients quite often, is that we are in the training and development business. Now, I don't mean my company. My company is obviously in the training and development business, training business owners. But I mean you, my client, sitting across the table from me, you are in the training and development business. And if you are upset about that you have to train people to know exactly how you want that process handled, this is going to be a painful journey for you, because that is your job.
Right. And I think some people feel like when they work for themselves, they're somehow freeing themselves up and getting away from a master or a boss. And your employees are people you have to answer to. Your clients are people you have to answer to.
Yeah. And you know what I would add to that, Christy? I think that the master, what would be ideal is that the master that we're all working for, if you will, is our commitment and our vision. That if that's really the end all be all, is that we know what we're committed to. We know we have a clear vision.
I was going to say that supposes, or is that the right word? Yeah, that supposes that you have a clear vision.
Yes.
Because a lot of times our vision could be ping, 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 and it's not a clear vision.
Yep.
So you have people marching along at different rates and different focuses.
And that's where the value of having a round table, having advisors, having a coach, having a consultant comes in, is that you've got to have people around you saying, you seem to be not quite building the momentum that you want to build.
Right.
You seem a little bit all over the place. Let's talk about this.
Right. Or if you're a leader and nobody's following, that's a problem.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
If I want to get started on this journey, if I'm trying to figure out, am I ready for coaching? Am I open to coaching? Because coachability is something we talk about a lot as well.
Yes.
Saying you want it, really wanting it, all of those things. It is. I'm assuming the Midwest Business. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get that right. The Midwest Women's Business Owners Conference is a place where, as a young or growing entrepreneur, I could learn more about what it is you do and the people out there who are able to help me and support me on that journey.
Yeah, a couple of things will happen at the conference, and it is a mouthful. The Midwest Women Business Owners Conference.
I had to slow down because I don't want to get it wrong.
I've practiced it. I enunciated it many times.
When is it going to be held?
May 17th this year. It's at the Ritz-Carlton here in St. Louis, Missouri.
Very accessible.
It's
lovely venue.
It's an extraordinary day.
They have a great
bar. We have a cocktail reception afterwards.
Really, we're going to have to work on your self-care. That's a sidebar.
But absolutely,
Yeah.
the conference attendees are going to be surrounded by other women entrepreneurs who are just like them, who are maybe 5 years ahead of them in the journey or 5 years behind them, and there's so much interaction that we've designed throughout this day, so that you're sitting around the table having similar to a peer roundtable experience, where you're collaborating with other people. They're asking you powerful, provocative questions to really get into the heart of where are you, where do you want to be, and what's going to help you get there.
Is it one day?
It's a one-day event.
Okay.
Thank goodness. It takes everything we've got to produce one day. I can't imagine producing a multi-day conference.
Sure. Oh, wow. So is this the first year?
This is the third year.
Third year.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So has it always been in St. Louis?
It's always been in St. Louis.
Okay.
We have some amazing, we always talk about,
Yes.
but that we always look afar for opportunities for personal growth and business growth and just a wealth of resources right here in our own backyard.
And that's what we try to highlight, because on this podcast,
it's all about what's happening.
It's all about what's happening. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so with regard to what's happening, if I am going to take the time to register for this conference, who's the right fit for it? Because we've talked a little bit about the younger post-revenue entrepreneur who's trying to build wealth and break through that $1 million mark, and as well as the post-$1 million revenue entrepreneur. If I'm evaluating this opportunity, how do I know it's the right one for me?
Well, that's the audience that we designed the conference for. We've been working for 18 months to develop content that is meaningful and impactful to female entrepreneurs, women business owners, whether you're in a family business, whether you're completely a solopreneur and you don't even have a virtual assistant that you delegate to. Maybe you have $30 million a year annual revenue and you are deep into the stages of succession planning. We have all of those audiences in mind. And we even have in mind women who are in transition. There are women who've left a corporate career who are thinking of starting a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is a place
Cheryl just raised her hand.
There you go.
That's how I got started in
There
this
you go.
Exactly.
So wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, that's who the conference is designed for.
Wow.
Awesome. Great. And about how many people come on an annual basis?
Well, we're having a breakthrough year this year, and we'll have close to 500 women this year.
Wow.
Whoa. So if you don't find some of your people that you connect with and relate to, then you're not looking. And there is a fee associated with the conference, is there not?
There is, yes. We're just moved into our standard fare registration of $345.
Okay.
We have a couple of great options on our website. Our website is...
Yes, tell us what the website is.
Midwest WBO Conference MidwestWBOconference.com.
Say it again.
MidwestWBOconference.com.
Great. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of times we talk about the fact that we've conditioned our entrepreneurs to look for free opportunities. And we would like to help folks reframe that conversation about investing in yourself and in your business. So taking advantage of these opportunities, making that investment of time and of money, because just like you are worth every penny you charge your customers.
Absolutely.
So are the folks who provide the coaching and professional development and training services that we provide and that our guests provide and there. So it's an important thing to think about in a land of free, and there's a lot of free, outstanding resources in our community. Don't just dismiss this because there's a price tag attached to it. Part of getting value is paying for value.
Absolutely. And being in a circle of 500 plus women that are all like-minded, I think these
things just
huge.
Don't happen.
Right. That's huge.
You have to be there.
Yeah.
So as we come to the close of our time together, any advice for women business owners who are ready to step outside their comfort zone? That's what we talk about a lot here at Entrepreneurially Thinking, that even if you haven't yet really pushed yourself outside, how do you, when folks are ready for that, what's your advice to them?
I'd say the first thing that comes to mind is to start speaking that. If you're really ready, you're ready to step outside of your comfort zone, the best thing you can do is start speaking that into existence, speaking that into reality, sharing it with your closest supportive friends, going to someone who's done it and speak it to them and see what feedback they have for you.
And don't let your dream killers kill your dream.
That's right. You don't have to speak it to them until you have the confidence to speak into, kind of like a brick wall. And that takes some practice.
Sure.
To be able to speak your vision into an unfriendly, kind of listening or audience. So my advice would be, if you're ready to step out, start speaking it out loud.
Wonderful.
That's great.
And if we want to find you, I know we have the website for the conference, but is there also a website for Black Dress that
BlackDressPartners.com, or just Google Erin Joy.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you so much
for
having me.
And we're really excited to share the work that you do in the conference that's coming up with our listeners.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.